Okay, but oh my goodness, on the way, oh my goodness. So we get ready and we're gonna go to the Crown Plaza for supper, and we're taking taxis because we always take taxis everywhere. And the guy, oh my gosh, Timothy. So me, Idris, who else? There's one dude, and then Jimmy. We were all in the same taxi, and it was no big deal. And like, the taxi driver was like super sketch, and I mean that in the most. His name was Wayne. He just kept chatting me up in the most literal sense, saying like, oh, I'd like to go out for dinner with you, blah blah blah, and like, you have very nice teeth, and not in a pleasant like, oh, you have very nice teeth. It was like serial killer vibe way. I was so sketched out the whole time, my goodness. And okay, we were downtown Moncton last night, and I know where the Crown Plaza is. It's like, if I were living here now, like if I had a car, I'd be able to, myself, Rachel, who sucks at directions, I would be able to drive from Super 8 to flippin' Crown Plaza, no problem. He definitely did not take the most direct route, and he took some crazy, like, side road. Then he's like, oh crap, I forgot to, he didn't say crap either. I was like, oh crap, I forgot to turn, and then he like went and then made this U-turn, and then we went all about, and he's like the whole time chatting me up, and we were talking about like my university and stuff, and I was like, yeah, well, I feel really blessed to be able to speak 2 languages, and he's like, oh, blessed, that's an interesting word. And then he's like, are you Christian? I was like, yes, I am. And he's like, oh, maybe that's why you're so blah 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 beautiful or glowing or something like that. And I was just like, dude, this is super, I just felt like rape, like, I was so, it was like Criminal Mind, like flashing in my head. And then he was asking us, sketch is part of this whole thing. He was like, so are you staying at the Super 8? I was like, yep, we're all staying at the Super 8, like, oh my goodness. And then finally, oh yeah. So he's like trash talking his fellow cab driver because he drives this cab at nighttime, and then I guess he shares it with another guy. He's like, yeah, it takes me 6 hours to get rid of the stink, and then he comes back and stinks it up again, and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, he could probably say the same thing about you, and that's just kind of me being like my. And then Jimmy in the back, he's like chuckling because this whole time we're like, oh, what do I say? And like, it was just Jimmy talked to him a little bit, but like it was pretty much just me and Wayne and I talking it up the whole time, or him chatting me up. And we get out, and he's like, you really do have very nice teeth. They're very white, Rachel. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so creepy. And then, because he has to have one of us sign this thing, because we weren't paying for it, like, it's getting paid for, right? So one of us has to sign it off. And he's like, oh, Rach, wait, can you sign this? And I was like, oh my goodness, he's calling me Rach. My buddy's calling me Rach. This guy's not my buddy. And, I sign it, give it back to him, and then I'm like walking away, and then he's like, hey, you forgot to put your phone number on here. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so creepy. Like, and it wouldn't be creepy if, like, he wasn't like a sweet old man taxi driver, because we've had that too. Like, we had this one guy, he has a daughter who's like 22, and his wife, and he drives taxis on the side. He's like, sweetheart old man, but this guy was not very sweet at all. So we get to the hotel, finally make it to Crown Plaza. And I was like, Jimmy, oh my goodness, that was like serial killer. And I was talking in English too. And these past few days, like this here, and I talked to Clark on iChat last night. It was the most I've spoken in English the whole time I've been here. So I literally like turned to Jimmy and I'm like speaking in English. I'm like, dude, that was so like serial killer vibe, right? Like, oh my goodness, that was so freaky. And then Jimmy's like, yeah, you handled it very well. And I was like, thanks, man. Like, sketch. Like, we think, oh, sketch, yo, that's so sketchy. No, this was sketch. Anyways, en tout cas.